In the footsteps of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Ronald Reagan, among others, Steve Hilton will face Democrat Javier Becerra in the California governor's race. In Maine, Graham Plattner is a Democrat nominee for U.S. Senate. South Carolina Republican U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham has won his primary contest. Voters in 4 states cast ballots in this latest round of primaries. First, the Senate. Now, House Republicans have approved a $70 billion funding package for ICE and Border Patrol operations. That funding bill now goes to President Trump for his signature. Iranian military targets have been blasted by American fighter jets. Retaliation for the downing of a U.S. Army Apache helicopter by an Iranian drone earlier in the week. On Wall Street, Dow futures down 423 points. NASDAQ futures off 426. More details, srnnews.com.
Did you really think Pure Talk was just going to sit back and watch America turn 250 years old without doing something awesome to celebrate? Of course not. That's why they're raising $250,000 for America's Warrior Partnership by the end of July. America's Warrior Partnership is on the front line of preventing veteran suicide. They've had extraordinary success, and here's how you can help. When you switch your cell phone service to Pure Talk this month, you'll be invited to round up to support America's Warrior Partnership. No pressure, but if you do, Pure Talk will match your donation dollar for dollar. And to further celebrate 250 years of our extraordinary democratic republic, Pure Talk is offering unlimited talk, text, and data for just $34.99. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe. That's pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and happy birthday to us.
Earl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland is rolling into summer with big offers on new GMCs. Get a 26 GMC Sierra 15-head elevation with $7,000 customer cash or trade-in 0% for 60 months plus no payments for 90 days. Need heavy duty? Get the 26 GMC Sierra 2500 with $1,000 in rebates or 4.9% for 48 months. Plus save on 26 GMC Terrain and Arcadias with over $1,000 in rebates when you finance with GM Financial. See Earl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas, or online at hurlchev.com. GMC, professional grade.
Here's a bright idea. Don't buy the cheapest TP. It's not worth it. You know what is worth it? IdeaTek high-speed fiber internet. IdeaTek delivers seamless high-speed connectivity, and it won't disintegrate at just the worst possible moment. Don't go single-ply when it comes to your connectivity. Go fast and reliable. Reliability and quality, another bright idea from IdeaTek. Get high-speed IdeaTek fiber internet at ideatech.com.
With NWKS Radio News, I'm Lucas Kenny. Jessica McCoy with the Brewster Public School System joined the Good Neighbor Hour, which you can listen to weekday mornings on Rocket 102.5 KLOE. One of the more important items she mentioned, including Brewster separating themselves from the Winona Tri-Plains Cooperative.
So we are going back to our tradition of Brewster Bulldogs and bringing that back home.
In other news, the National Weather Service office in Goodland has provided an area drought conditions update. Here are the drought conditions with their corresponding counties. Exceptional droughts include Red Willow County. Extreme droughts include Hitchcock County. Severe drought includes Decatur, Norton, Sheridan, Graham, Gove, Greeley, Wichita, and Cheyenne, Colorado counties. Moderate drought include Yuma, Dundee, Rawlins, Thomas, Logan, Cheyenne, Kansas, and Wallace counties, and abnormally dry is Kit Carson and Sherman counties. For more information on these local stories, visit nwksradio.net.
Today will be sunny and warm with northwesterly winds around 15 miles per hour, highs in the lower 90s. Tonight, clear and calm with a low of 63. Tomorrow will be sunny, noticeably cooler, gusty northwest winds hitting 15 to 25 miles per hour. Highs in the upper 70s, overnight clear and crisp, the low around 50. Friday will be clear skies, warming back up with south winds 15 to 20 miles per hour. Highs will be in the upper 80s, and overnight will be clear to partly cloudy, lows in the lower 50s. And then Saturday will be partly cloudy with northeast winds at 15 to 20 miles per hour and highs around 80. Overnight, we'll see increasing clouds, chance of light rain developing, a low of 56. And Sunday will be overcast, noticeably cool with consistent light rain showers, high in the upper 60s and lower 70s. Overnight, damp conditions continue with lingering light rain, low in the lower 50s. This meteorologist Chris Schromick of the NWKS Radio Weather Center.
Earl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland is rolling into summer with big offers on new GMCs. Get a 26 GMC Sierra 1500 elevation with $7,000 customer cash with trade-in or 0% for 60 months plus no payments for 90 days. Need heavy duty? Get the 26 GMC Sierra 2500 with $1,000 in rebates or 4.9% for 48 months. Plus save on 26 GMC Terrain and Arcadias with over $1,000 in rebates when you finance with GM Financial. See Earl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas, or online at hurlchev.com. GMC, professional grade.
At Ray Community District Hospital and Clinic, they believe in promoting healthier living through compassionate quality care. From state-of-the-art maternity care to life-saving emergency services, their dedicated team is there for you and your family. Whether it's managing diabetes, navigating recovery, or receiving specialized treatments, they're committed to your well-being. Discover the difference a community-focused hospital can make. Visit rayhospital.org today to learn more. Ray Community District Hospital and Clinic. Your health, our priority.
When fraud strikes, every second counts. At FNB Bank, we take your security seriously. Our local team monitors for suspicious activity and responds fast, so small issues don't turn into bigger problems. I'm Jessica Von Little at FNB Bank. We are your first line of defense, protecting you, your money, and your peace of mind. FNB Bank, local, trusted, here for you. Member FDIC.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales. Just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland and let's get you covered. The Insurance Agency. Insurance the way it should be.
When you gotta go, but there's nowhere to go, who you gonna call? Topside Portables and Pumping, that's who. Weddings, job sites, farm parties, they've got clean, reliable porta potties that don't stink, literally. And if your septic tank smells worse than last year's chili cook-off, they'll pump it out fast. No mess, no fuss. Family owned, Heartland values, always ready. Call 785-728-8089. That's 728-8089. Topside Portables and Pumping. When Tootie calls, they answer.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4!
It's time for the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer and Garrett Wellbrock.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
The High Plains only local sports talk show. Broadcasting live on Goodland's Rocket 102.5 KLOE and video streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Discussing it all from the preps to the pros.
Caglione hits it high in the air, deep center field. Dunn springs back at the fence. It's gone! A 2-run blast for Jack Caglione.
The Blitz is presented by Earl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank, along with
IdeaTech Fiber Internet, Topside Portables and Pumping, The Insurance Agency, Pest Away, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinner, and Grinnell.
Let's go to work.
For his most crucial at-bat of his first game. Sends it in the air to left. It is back near the wall. It is over the wall for a game-winning home run. How about that? Talk about drama. Talk about theater.
First pitch to Cags, and he drills it high in the air, deep right center field, headed for the fountains. It's a splashdown. Jack Caglione's second home run of the game. An ambush swing for a 2-run shot. The Royals have a 5-2 lead in the 6th.
Simple steps, betterair.org. Swing, and there's the first big league hit for Cole Carrick as he hooked it into the right field corner. He put it into another gear, going for 3, head first slide. Welcome to the big leagues, kid. It's a triple.
Oh, a terrible turnover. Jarvis is stopped by Hart. Oh, my goodness. Now out in front, Stahl. He scores while falling down. 4-3, Carolina.
Happy Wednesday morning, everybody. June the 10th is here. Ross Volkmer, Garrett Wellbrock with on Rocket 102.5 KLOE and WKSradio.net. The Earl Chevrolet GMC video stream for all you streamers out there. Good morning to you. A beautiful sunny morning out here on the High Plains. Been a kind of couple of weird starts to the day the last couple of days. Maybe it's just because Garrett's moved out here. The overcast and kind of the spitting after the show, at least out here. The little bit of rain spit, but then burns off and brings up some nice hot weather. And today we'll have sunny and 80 temperatures in the upper 80s, I think, for the most part. And going to get a little bit cooler after temperatures reaching into the 90s yesterday. We're going to get down into the looks like upper 70s even into tomorrow. But good morning, everybody. Glad you decided to join us. FB Bank text line open 785-899-2222 for thoughts, comments, and questions throughout the show. Officer Jared is back with us. Looks like we'll have an edition of Dear Ross coming, and Garrett, of course, coming up here in just a little bit too. But Garrett, good morning. How are we doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How is getting settled into the place? I guess I don't know where you are in that. Where are you in that process?
I mean, I'm pretty much settled in for the most part. I don't think I've got much more to move. I mean, I feel pretty settled. And there's probably something that'll come my way here in the next coming days, but I feel pretty much moved in. Yeah.
So you've got all the furniture in the right spot. The TV's all hooked up. It's all good to go. All that kind of stuff.
That was the first thing I had to do. Get the furniture and the TV, because when I moved in, it was the night of Game 7, Thunder Spurs. So I had to watch that one. So I had to have everything settled in.
So yeah, so you've really been settled in quite a while. Then is what you're kind of saying for the most part. Because that's what, a week, 10 days ago now, that Game 7 Thunder Spurs, pretty close.
Yeah, something like that. I wasn't here all last week, so I had to get it all done. But yeah, it feels like home now.
Did you have to make a lot of trips, or did you happen to have like a trailer or something to haul a few things, or did you load up in the back of the Charger? How'd that happen?
We went with a U-Haul truck, took the U-Haul down. I mean, my parents helped me move in, so I had my car, one of my parents' cars, and then the U-Haul truck. So three cars, and then I also brought some more stuff when I came back from Hayes on was it Sunday or Monday? I don't remember. Yeah, Monday morning, I think, when I came up from my vacation.
Yeah, there you go. So he's all settled in. Are you sleeping okay in the new place? Sometimes it's hard to sleep in a new place. You're not used to the sounds and stuff like that.
No, yeah, everything's good. Everything's good.
Glad to hear. He's nice. Yeah. He's already settled in. He's ready to rock and roll, and so are we here on the Morning Blitz. Today's program, we are going to be talking lots of different things. We'll get an update on summer activities at Oakley High School. Jeff Hennick, Oakley High School football coach, going to join the program. Good longtime friend of the show. Will join us. We'll visit with him about Oakley's summer weight conditioning and their program that they're going on. He's in charge of the weight room over the summer. We'll talk to him about that, what he's got planned for Oakley football after last season and going into this upcoming year. We'll talk that with him. The Royals and the Rockies both won. More on that. What? They both won? They did. They both won. That doesn't happen very often. No. We'll get to that coming up a little later on. We've got a great Stanley Cup final on our hands. Win last night for the Canes. Some news around Dan Fitzgerald and Kansas baseball. Good news, not bad news for those who haven't seen. And the Chiefs are bringing back a familiar face as well. We'll get to that all coming up a little bit later on in the show, too. FB Bank text line once again, 785-899-2222 if you want to be part of the Morning Blitz. Time for our first segment, once again sponsored by R&R Customs, R&R Custom Building, I should say. Once again, you might be in need of some new gutters after all of this storms and stuff that have been happening throughout the area. Well, if you would like to get new gutters, and if you want to support Goodland High School at the same time, it's an option. If you don't want to, you don't have to. You can still get new gutters, but you can do both if you want to with R&R Custom Building. Mike and Dax Reese have more than 20 gutter color options, and of course, great experience to get your home looking right and protecting your home at the same time. Once again, if you are a good fan of Goodland High School athletics, they are going to, or I shouldn't say Goodland High School, just Goodland activities, I should say. They are giving $1 back per foot installed to a GHS program of your choice, no matter if it's baseball, football, the band, science Olympiad, whatever it might be. If you want to give money back to the GHS program of your choice, R&R Custom Buildings can do that. $1 back per foot installed. So if Garrett needs to put new gutters on his place, which I doubt he does, but let's just say Garrett needs to put new gutters on his place, he's got 300 feet of guttering, well, you could get $300 back to a program of his choice if that was the case. But upgrade your gutters and give back to the Cowboys and Cowgirls. Call Mike or Dax Reese today. R&R Custom Building. Their number 785-821-1432. That's 785-821-1432 today. R&R Custom Building. our sponsor of segment number 1, which is fascinating. I found this article last week. Been kind of stashing it back. That's what we kind of do on the Morning Blitz. We find stuff, we stash it back to talk about throughout the summer months because there's just not a lot of great other local and live sports happening. So we got to find things to talk about. And Heartland College Sports are good friends who do a good job of covering the Big 12. And Connor Becker is this young man who wrote this article talking about Kansas State basketball. And Kansas State basketball is in the process, and still is, putting together a complete roster for next year. They're pretty much starting over from scratch, minus one guy that's decided to stick around. Kostic is the only guy I think that decided to stick around for Kansas State. So once again, they are completely rebuilding the roster. And Sean, I'm going to butcher this name. I'm sure Rutgliano, I think is how you say his name. He is the newly tapped general manager. He was the associate head coach for Casey Alexander at Belmont, but now he's at Kansas State as the GM. And he put a unique insight on their recruiting philosophy. He told Derek Young of K-State Online that the Wildcats, quote, will refuse to take a very talented player who doesn't fit the culture. That is what he said. So once again, they refuse to take a very talented player who doesn't fit the culture. And so the question I have here for segment number 1 for us to discuss and for you to chime in with your thoughts on the EpiBank text line is fit or talent. If you're building a team, whatever team it might be, are you looking for fit or are you just looking to get the best player available? Garrett, what do you think when you see this article and what they're trying to do at Kansas State, which feels like, once again, a complete opposite of what Kansas State was doing the previous few years in Jerome Tang, where they were going out and felt like they were trying to find just the best players and force them to fit together instead of just finding the guys that fit together.
Yeah, I've thought really hard on this one for the last couple hours, just which way I would go on this, because I do think, like in K-State's instance, they need to go get some guys that fit and mesh well together, because they've had some pretty bad seasons last couple of years under Jerome Tang, and I'm going to lean still on the talent, just for the simple fact of we've seen some great teams in the past couple of years that in March Madness is kind of my examples of this that have had good fits. For example, Nebraska and Iowa last year out of the Big Ten. Those are two Midwest teams. They don't have the most talent in the entire NCAA, but hey, they had some pretty good runs. You talk about Iowa going to the Elite Eight, Nebraska Sweet 16, really good NCAA tournament runs. They weren't the most talented teams in the tournament, but I think what you see is, if you're like Kansas, more of a blue blood school, you have to get the talent. Now, they did get Darren Peterson last season, but I do believe like talent wins you championships, but fit is a good start. I think it kind of evolves into one another. Like you have to get some guys to build your culture. And then once you have the culture, that's when the talent, you can start bringing them. So I'm going to lean more on the talent side, but I'm not saying that fit is not important. The sweet spot is you have great talent with good fit. But obviously, if you're picking one or the other, I'm going to go talent here.
You're exactly right. The sweet spot is finding, of course, the great mix where you find a bunch of talented guys that love to play together. That's the problem, is sometimes that just doesn't happen. And it makes it so much harder in today's college sports landscape, because you get some talented guys that make a bunch of money and some guys that are talented that don't make a bunch of money. And you get that problem, that, that head knocking issue that you have, egos in the locker room. It's a hard thing to figure out. You have to have both. I would say, I as much as I would love to say fit, as much as I would love to say you got to find the right pieces that fit, because I think you can't, as you very well stated, you can take teams that fit well together and win a lot of basketball games. Like I go back, you said a great example of Iowa and Nebraska. I'm going to go with Nebraska. You have Sam Hoiberg, who didn't have any recruiting out of college. He was a walk-on. Rink Mast out of the Netherlands. Birkday Buchengel was a 4-star player out of Turkey that transferred from UCLA. Cale Jacobson, who was a key player off the bench for Nebraska this previous year, was a walk-on as well. Once again, they're mostly fit guys, pieced together with some extremely talented guys like Price Sanford, for example, who's one of the better three-point shooters in the country. That's a great mix of fit and talent. But to me, Nebraska is more of a team where the sum is better than just one piece, which is why you didn't see maybe Nebraska get a whole lot of all Big Ten, for example, players. They didn't have a whole lot of all Big Ten guys because the sum was greater than just one piece that they had. And so there are that. But once again, that can only get you so far. If you want to win the big time games, you have to get the talent to do it. So right now, if you're Kansas State, I think you're in the boat of we're just trying to find the fit. You said it well. We're trying to find the pieces that fit together and just play the game the right way. And then once, as you said, we get this culture established, then we'll bring in a few more talented pieces that can go in there. And a lot of the pressure, it's on the coach. You can go out and get a whole bunch of talented guys. You certainly can. But can you not only go out and recruit those talented guys and get them to be here, but can you get them to play together? Can you mold them over the course, in most cases in the season of in just a year, can you mold them to play together with one another? Because that's what it is. It's a year-to-year contract, it feels like, in college basketball anymore. That's the hard thing where I think Jerome Tang failed. He was really good at bringing in pieces. He could not get them to play together. That was the big thing. And so it partially falls on the coaches to get everybody to play together, to believe in a system, play to a system, and then execute that system out on the floor. But this is a fascinating conversation because you're right. You absolutely need to have both. And you broke it down perfectly with, once again, finding the fit guys to lay the foundation in the culture and bringing in the talented guys, and hopefully the talented guys follow the culture guys.
Now, I would say this, like, if we're having this conversation maybe 5 to 10 years ago, I might lean more on the fit side of things when you had guys that were staying 3 to 4, maybe 5 years at one school, but we just don't see that anymore in college basketball. So it's so hard to get fit. You like, for example, of Kansas State, like you mentioned, you're bringing in so many new guys every season, at least in the Tang era. We'll see what Casey Alexander looks like now, but even KU's had this problem. They haven't been able to necessarily fit together as of late. So, I just think talent trumps that right now in the day and age of college basketball where we're sitting.
Officer Jared on the FB Bank text line says fit, but talent has got to be there too. There has to be a balance. Yes, I agreed there, Officer Jared, for sure on that. But I look at it this way. It's really handy when you can find guys that, I guess it depends on what you consider to be a talent. If we're talking the game of basketball, is it just a 3-point shooter? Is that your talent? Are you just an elite scorer? Is that your talent? Like a PJ Haggerty, for example. What is your talent per se? Because I think you can find, once again, I think in K-State's realm, I think with Casey Alexander, they're going to look for a lot of guys that are talented shooters. I think that's going to be their thing. They want to find a bunch of guys that shoot the ball very well, particularly from the outside. That's the way Belmont has been the previous few years. That was one of the big time questions they had for Casey Alexander during his introductory press conference. You guys at Belmont have always been your great shooting team. What makes you, what do you plan to do here at Kansas State? Or what's your secret to getting these guys? He goes, we just know how to find these guys that fit our culture, that know how to shoot the ball and do that kind of stuff. And so once again, they may, PJ Haggerty is a 5-star talent, for example. He's no doubt really, really good. But you may only get at Kansas State now a bunch of 2- and 3-star guys that just might be a bunch of decent 3-point shooters, for example, is what you might be getting now. But guess what? All those guys playing together could result in being a really talented team.
Yeah. And I mean, hey, fit can get you in the NCAA tournament. I think K-State, that's what they're wanting. That's all. I mean, I think that's the bare minimum right now, what they want. They want to make the NCAA tournament. That's their goal. And if they can make it consistently, then Casey Alexander is doing a good job there at Kansas State. Your expectations there can't necessarily be contend for a national championship, but maybe in the coming years, when you start getting some of that talent, that's where you can start to expect is a higher level, kind of where KU expects to be every year.
Yeah. And Kansas has gone through this thing too, where they've gone out and they've gotten a bunch of very highly talented, high-priced guys. Hunter Dickinson comes to mind, some guys like that, and they didn't really play great together. And because of it, Kansas, they still made the tournament, but they didn't have the type of seasons. I think even last year they had, of course, they had Darren Peterson. He's high-priced talent. It didn't look like it played that great together all the time. In fact, it looked like they played better when he wasn't on the floor at times for Kansas last year. So that's the thing about that. And I'll get your opinion on this, but I think this matters more in basketball than maybe it does in almost any other sport to find the right fit. Whereas in baseball, softball, or football, for example, if we're just sticking to those main sports, you can go out and just get talented guys because they kind of just have to do their job. Mm-hmm. When you have more pieces on the team, and the field's a little bit bigger, if you just get a star running back, for example, well, he doesn't really have to fit the culture too much if you just hand him the ball off and he rips off 65-yard touchdowns every single time. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. And same thing goes for the defensive side. Like, if you have a very talented defensive line, I mean, what are they? They're going to go and try and make a tackle, make a sack, or a cornerback, safeties. Like, you just got to do your job. And fit is important in every sport, but talent, especially in those other ones, that you need that more. I mean, we see it every year, like Alabama, Georgia's, all the college football playoff, Ohio State, those type of schools. Like, you could have the best coach in the country, maybe at like a lower division, great fit guys. They're going to lose every time to Ohio State and Georgia's. It's just part of it.
Yeah. I mean, look across the border to the West in Colorado. How much great talent did they have the first couple of years of Coach Prime? Great talent resulted in wins, that kind of stuff. You can have great talent and win, I think. But in the game of basketball, you got to find the perfect mixture. You got to have the talented guys that do their job. Maybe you've got a great defensive guy with a couple great shooters and a great ball handler and maybe a great slasher, and they all play really good defense. Hopefully that's the common ground. Then you've got yourself a team that really can compete. But and getting those guys to fit together, I always feel like Kansas State kind of fell into that first year of Jerome Tang. They got super talented guys and they fit together like a glove. It was the perfect combination. That's when you see, once again, that Elite Eight run that Kansas State had. And ever since then, they've tried that same formula, going out and finding the most talented guys, but they just don't make a fit. And so that's been the issue. That was the issue with Jerome Tang, led to his dismissal. And now we'll see Casey Alexander give it a run with Kansas State. Once again, you're going to see a bunch of guys. I don't know. I have no idea what to expect out of Kansas State this year. I think, once again, it depends on how talented these fit guys play their roles. I think that's what's going to matter. These guys that are going to be more fit pieces than talent pieces, how do they play to their roles, and how well does Kansas State execute those throughout the course of the season? We'll see how this goes. But
yeah, I think if you're a K-State fan and you're like around the bubble come, late February and March when the conference tournaments roll around, like, I think that would be considered a win. If you're better, then heck yeah, let's do it and go make the NCAA tournament. But at the same time, you got to have some realistic expectations. I think just improvement and getting into the conversation would be a plus for Wildcat fans.
I think you'll know it when you see it on the floor.
Yeah.
I think fans will know, like, this looks a little bit more like team basketball, looks a bit more like what we want to see. I think you'll probably know it, even if it doesn't come with a certain amount of wins. One quick thing before we get to break here, but Gene Taylor, athletic director, detailed how he plans to win with a $6 million basketball roster. Kentucky is paying Iowa State transfer 3-point specialist Milan Momcilovic $6.5 million next year.
I saw that come up, that the Iowa State transfer going to Kentucky, and I was like, my goodness. I mean, that's more money than probably, I don't know, a quarter of NBA guys are making, like bench pieces on the NBA.
Yeah, he's getting paid as Momcilovic for sure. Kentucky's going to have over a $20 million roster. We'll see if that results in any sort of championship or anything like that, or if they end up getting knocked out in the first couple rounds of the tournament again. In K-State, you're going to have to pinch every dollar that you've got to make this work. That's why when you said, we got to be near the bubble. If they're doing that, I think they've probably achieved it. There's just not the budget this year in basketball. They've been burned by that the last couple of years. They've spent way more, but hasn't resulted in anything. And so Casey Alexander's got the tough job of building a roster with really not having much financial backing in comparison to other teams. So it's going to come down to, once again, finding the guys that fit, that play together the best, maybe more than teams that have more expensive rosters but can't get them to play together. So once again, juggling that fine line is going to be a big piece here coming up this year for Kansas State basketball. So fit or talent, you can go either way when it comes to assembling your team for sure. Let's get to a break. Right at the bottom of the hour, 7:30 Mountain, 8:30 Central Time on a Wednesday, June the 10th. Once again, going to be a warm one today, not as warm as yesterday. Temperatures in the upper 80s. Looking like not as much storm activity today as well. We'll get to a break. Jeff Hennick joins us next. Good friend of the program, Oakley High School football coach, next on the Blitz.
You can feel it in the air. Longer days, greener lawns, and plenty of projects waiting around the house. Good thing Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland has you covered. Freshen up your home with Benjamin Moore paint, tackle the yard with powerful Ego battery tools, and give your lawn the boost it needs with Stage 1 Ultimate Fertilizer. Thinking about cooking outside? Check out their great selection of grills, griddles, smokers, and outdoor living essentials. And remember, if you need it, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware probably has it. They even have milk. Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby, your place for just about everything.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning. This is Kate Thompson with Skyland Grain. Today's Wednesday, June 10th. Grain stronger on the overnight. July corn higher 2 cents, 4.22. September up 2 3/4 at 4.30 1/4. December up 3 1/2 at 4.48 1/2. July soybeans up 6 1/2 on the overnight at 11.20 1/2. August up 6 1/4 at 11.25. November beans up 6 at 11.37 1/4. Kansas City wheat July contract higher 6 at 6.36 3/4. September up 5 3/4 at 6.46. December hard wheat up 5 1/4 at 6.59 3/4. Chicago wheat July contract higher 9 at 5.94. September up 9 3/4 at 6.06. December soft wheat up 8 3/4 at 6.22 3/4. On the stock market this morning, the Dow down $235, 50,674. The S&P down 37 at 7,355. The Nasdaq down 235 at 28,868. Gold lower $119 an ounce at 4,168. Crude oil up 90 cents a barrel at 89.10. If you have any questions about marketing grain or would like to talk about risk management options, give our Colorado office a call, John Hankey or John Stiles at 970-744-4484. In our Kansas City office, you can reach Tyler Ghosh, Thomas Ludo, or Jared Law at 913-748-3000, or Cindy Warner, Austin Wright, or myself, Kate Thompson, in our Ulysses, Kansas office, 602-356-7800.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
Schedule your free home inspection today at GoThrasher.com.
It's the Morning Blitz.
We're having a great time, couple of laughs, everything's nice.
Weekday mornings from 7 to 8 Mountain, 8 to 9 Central.
Don't forget, coming up here, geez, what are we now? Just a little over 2 weeks away. On the 27th of June, we have, of course, our big concert happening, Colin Ray with Walker Montgomery, taking place at the Colby Event Center. That's June 27th. You want to make sure you get your tickets right now by going to nwksradio.net. That is our station website. You can find a link there to purchase your tickets for Colin Ray as well as Walker Montgomery in concert at the Colby Event Center. That's June 27th. That's 2 weeks from this coming Saturday. All right, back here on the Morning Blitz, we are pleased to welcome into the show, good friend, been with us a long time football coach in the area, now, of course, with the Oakley Plainsmen. I heard some weights moving in the background when I called him. Let's welcome in Jeff Hennick, the Oakley High School football coach. Good morning, Coach. You got to love that sound in the morning, more than even coffee, probably.
I do it. I tell you what, my coffee kind of goes with that, but it's we've got a good group of middle school kids going in here right now, and I told Coach Martin, hey, take these kids. I'm gonna jump on here and visit with you guys for a sec, but it's good to visit with you again, Ross.
Coach, I want to start off kind of with the summer program. I mean, you've been doing this a long time. How has, from even your times when you first started to where you are now, how has the summer program, weights, conditioning, working with kids on their specific sports throughout the course of the summer, how has it altered in your eyes from this time you started to where you are now?
It's changed a lot. I think I'm getting smarter as I get older. I don't know. Maybe I'm not, but I'm learning a lot more. It's one of those deals where when I first started, we were in 4 days a week, and we were putting the grind. And about 3 years ago, I visited with some coaches and you look at it and how much kids are doing nowadays in the summer. And it's one of those things that really plays in. And I think every strength coach and every coach takes, doesn't realize it, but these kids need more rest than anything now. And I think it's one of the things that's underutilized a lot to get growth out of kids. So we actually go 3 days a week now. We go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it's been very interesting trying to program it. But at the same time, I really like it. I think our kids like it. I like it as a family man with young kids. And it's been good for us. When we looked at it, and I looked at it with my staff, I said, I'm getting all these kids in on a Monday, but am I getting the quality or am I getting the quantity? And basically what I was just getting the quantity. The kids are here, but they've been playing basketball, they've been playing baseball, they've been at camps and they're showing up, but I'm not getting out of them what I need to. And, I think the first time I introduced it to the kids, they're like, Coach, are you crazy? Are you feeling okay? And I said, yeah. I said, I am. I said, let's try this and let's see how it goes. And, I think we've done well with it. And, I know there's some other coaches that have had to look into that as well. But the biggest thing that came from was Tony Haller and his Feed the Cats program. And, he's got a football consortium. And, the more you study, the more you start to learn. And I'm still a learning man. There's still a heck of a lot I don't know, but I do feel like maybe I am getting smarter and trying to help our kids and stay healthy when the season comes.
Coach, now that we're here on June 10th, you got about a couple months of this summer workouts. What are you looking for by the end of July? Just kind of the improvement in the kids and just some of the things you hope that they are going to improve on throughout your summer weights.
Everybody wants to be more explosive. And I think that's one thing that we need, especially as we make the trend into 8-man football. Everybody's getting faster. And, if you look at state track results and everything that went on down there, it's starting to come back. There for a few years, like, man, okay, we used to have some absolute freaks, and it was gone for a little bit, and now it's starting to come back. And, and I think that's one of the things that as we transition to 8-man football, we're going to have to be able to do things. And we just went through camp last week, and I told our kids, I said, don't make this into a bigger thing than it is. I said, everything that you learned in 11-man football is what I brought from our 8-man program. And now we're just losing 2 tackles and 1 more back. And, me and our staff, we've kind of developed it into everything that we had in our other program. You just got to change a little bit. And I think the kids have hit the ground running, and they realize, hey man, this is still football. You still got to tackle, run, block, pass. And, everything is very much the same. So I think, the biggest thing we want to do is we want to get more explosive. Of course, we want to stay healthy. I got some kids that are still battling some injuries, and they're like, well, coach, I got to be lifting. I said, I want you to think about this. I don't need you at 100% right now. The goal is to have you 100% come season. That way we're not still nagging on these injuries. So it's one of those things, I hope that we're bigger. I hope that we're faster. I hope that we're stronger. But the biggest thing that I really want to see and truly is I want to see our leaders develop, and I want to see them become good friends, and I want to see them do stuff outside of football. Because I think when we decide that we can love each other and we can help each other, I think we're going places then.
Jeff Hennick is our guest, Oakland High School football coach, joining us as always on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware hotline on this Wednesday. You talk about going from 4 days down to 3. What is the goal each and every, like, how do you break up, like you said, how do you change the plan into 3 days of working out? Is it upper body one day, lower body the next? How do you do that over the course of a 3-day span?
Yeah, so it's tough, and it's there's a lot of people that are going to tell me I'm still crazy and that I'm not doing it right, and maybe I'm not, and that's okay. But I tell you what, it does work for us. So when we come in, the kids think I'm trying to kill them, but we hit a lower posterior chain on a Tuesday. Then on a Wednesday, we're a lot of upper stuff. And then on Thursday, we hit a lot of full body. So we'll hit, your pulls with your cleans and your deadlifts. And, last week the kids thought I was killing them, front squatting them and back squatting them on a Tuesday. But I said, you haven't lifted for 3 weeks. I said, you're going to be sore, even though we are light. But it's kind of interesting. There's a lot of guys that set it up, a lot of different ways. They'll put in some French contrast. They'll put in some, some different stuff in your isometrics, your concentrics, and stuff like that. But it works for us. And, I think every guy that's out there in the weight room, there's so many different programs out there, but I think you do what is best for you and what you can get your kids to believe in. And who says that there's a right or wrong way,
You mentioned going down to 8-man this year, just that transition on the football side. Is there any change that you have to make just as a program going to 3 less guys out on the field?
There's not, when we were lucky enough to make our run in 20, everything that we did was a lot of power game, and it was everything that we had, that I had learned from my head coach in high school, and that we had brought from the 8-man game. And, we're kind of going back to a little bit of that now. There's some different stuff that we can do, but I don't know. I think it's, I don't know. You try to figure out what works best for your personnel, and you try to run with it.
Jeff Hennick, our guest. Coach, I've got plenty of football questions for, but I have one more on the weight side of things. If you'll just bear with me here, I got to ask about, we talk about the football side of things, and of course weightlifting is so. But I'll tell you, it's also very important for the ladies, the Lady Plainsmen of Oakley, and they have had some really good runs in volleyball and basketball. You've got some great track and field athletes on the ladies' side for Oakley. How much has the weight program really helped the girls like Alexa Weiser and others that have come through the weight program over the summer months?
We do. We have some very talented young ladies right now, and I think a lot of that is to do with their work ethic. You mentioned Alexa, and she's a great kid. We got a lot of those great girls in there. But I think they figure out, because not everybody loves lifting, and I think sometimes a lot of the girls have in the mind that, hey, I don't want to look like a guy, and you got to break it down for them and tell them, you're never going to look like a guy. The good Lord didn't give you those hormones. You got to be taking special stuff if you're going to look like a man. But they got to understand too, you're in here lifting not only to get stronger and to give yourself an advantage, but to stay away from injuries. And sometimes, especially with as much as kids do now, I think it's even more important that they're in here. And not all the time are you just trying to push weight, but sometimes you're trying to do some preventative stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there to stay away from ACL injuries. Unfortunately, last year we had an ACL with Jade Beckman and a season-ending injury, and that was terrible. And I think if she's healthy through state volleyball and state basketball, I think that ups the morale of those girls even more, and they're able to do some really cool stuff. Besides what they did, they did an amazing job. But I think, even, we didn't even mention, wrestling. Our girls wrestling program is really good too. But I think all these young ladies, I think they're starting to understand it, and, we had a freshman, Haley Brockelman, that qualifies in the quarter, and, she makes the finals in the 400. I think she ended up taking ninth, but just to get there and to see what, a strength and conditioning program can do for kids, I think is huge. It doesn't matter where you go anymore. You get to that college aspect, man, they're pushing it, and they're pushing it hard. And, I think these kids are seeing the success that they have. And I hope that, when they look at their success, they say, well, maybe some of the stuff we did in the weight room is helping us. I hope they see that. Not everybody will, and that's okay. But I think we try to do some good things with our male and our female athletes.
You talked about how you have the middle schoolers in right now. How important is it building that kind of stepping stone to get them to buy in now when they're younger in middle school to then when they get up to the high school level?
It's huge. Our middle school group is our biggest group of the day. And, there's a lot of them when they come in, they want to put on big weights. They want to do this, they want to do that. And our first 3 weeks here are pretty slow because, man, we hammer and hammer technique. And it's just one of those things that, I had to point out to him the other day. I said, my biggest squatter that I've ever had the opportunity to work with is Craig Kuhlman, who is now an assistant coach at Victoria for Coach Oberle. And I said, guys, when he first came in here as a middle school kid like you, I said, he couldn't even squat the bar. I said, his technique was disgusting. I said, and he didn't want to listen to his sister when he was coming in with her. And I said, you had to get on those kids. And once they realize how important your technique is, then it becomes crazy, because, even when you hang clean and you power clean, kids don't want to drop their hind end to the floor and catch. And one of the biggest things they got to understand is you continue to develop. Your lower and your posterior chain is always going to be, or it should be, stronger than your upper body. So if you learn how to do this, you learn how to pull, and you learn how to pull yourself under the bar and then, hit a big front squat, good things are going to happen. And then Craig ends up graduating for me, squatting 535, and at 280, he could run a 5.340, and he was just one of those special kids. And we got a lot of those kids. But it doesn't come if you don't want to work. It's a process, and we got to learn how to love the process. And I think that's one of the biggest things that, coaches face throughout the country this time of year, and we try to figure it out.
I love it. I could just see some 8th grader walking there. Give me the plates.
yeah. And we'll have some of those that, have lifted with me since they were young kids. We lift twice a week at 7 a.m. through the school year. And some of those kids never miss. And some of those 8th graders and 7th graders, they are at that point, and it's fun to see them. So, you just got to stay with it, and you got to drill the technique. And I think one thing that I did this year that's helping us is, I moved our weight time back a little bit for our high school boys because I wanted to develop. I thought we had lost some of that leadership. So I make our seniors go pick up all of our freshmen, and then I make them lift with them. And, some of our freshmen, they want to be strong. They want to push what these guys do. But I said a leader makes people do things right. And I think we've got some of that in these kids this year saying, hey, man, you're not quite ready for that. And it's okay. You'll get there. I was there too. But I think we're making some steps in the right direction that way. Our energy's up right now. But like I told them today when we got done, I said, it's easy in week 2. I said, what's it going to look like week 6, week 7, week 8 when it starts getting tough? So we'll hope for the best, and we hope that we can keep that up.
Another question or two quickly here for you, Jeff. Jeff Hennick, Oakley High School Plainsman, football coach, joining us here. You mentioned, and of course, Garrett mentioned it too, the drop down to 8-man. I'm so glad you brought that up because honestly, it slipped my mind. What is the mood or the talk around the program, around town, about going from 11-man to 8-man? Because sometimes that's kind of a tough pill to swallow. Or maybe is there an excitement because you see a lot of teams that go from 11-man down to 8-man find really good success really fast.
Yeah, I think that there's maybe some mixed feelings. Maybe there's some negativity out there. If there is, they don't say it to me. But I think overall as a community, I think we're very excited to make that move. Looking at it, I think we might have 22 or 23 kids out. And when I first went and talked to our board about possibly looking into this last June, the biggest thing I had to do was swallow my pride. I say swallow my pride because I feel like we have a community that's big enough, but sometimes you don't always get the kids out that you hope to get out. And, football's tough and football's not for everybody, and that's okay. But man, I want these kids to know how much I want the opportunity to work with them and to develop a relationship with them and to love on them. And, I want them to know, man, I am going to be hard on you. I'm going to push you. But at the same time, when you do good things, man, I'm going to be your biggest dadgum fan. I'm going to love on you. And I hope that these kids understand that. And if there's any of them listening out there right now, I hope that they know that, man, I will always take you. Give me an opportunity to work with you. Give me an opportunity to teach the game that I have so much passion for. But it's, I think overall, I know our coaching staff is excited, especially for our travel time. I think our furthest game is maybe 65 or 75 miles away. And that's going to make for a big difference. But I think here's what's crazy. In 2 years, I think we're going to have to make the jump back up just due to enrollment numbers. And if we do, hopefully we can have some success here and get some kids loving football. And, I don't know. It'll be good, though. I am excited about it. I've tied in with some relationships back with some other guys that I used to, have great relationships with. Actually, Coach Ayers, he stopped and saw me last week as he was coming through to see his mom. And I had a good visit with him. And, Coach Hoyer up at Hanover, he texted me when he found out that we were making the move. And he said, "Hey, man, you're coming back to the good side." And, just a lot of those guys. And I keep in touch with Coach Overly and my cousin, Angie's husband, Ben Labertu down there in Sylvan Grove, man. There's a lot of these great people, so many people that I have so much respect for. Ken Simon down in Dighton, I think my brother-in-law, Brett, I think he was really excited to have us going to 8-man football. He coached there at Winona Tri-Plains for quite a while, and he still comes to a lot of our Oakley games, but he was excited to be able to talk shop. And Coach Dennis Gefeller, my wife's uncle, and Kyle, I think they like to see us come to 8-man. Kyle was upset that I wouldn't play him in football this year, but I said, man, I got too many ties there. And I've always said, any place I've coached, I never want to coach against again. Just because of the relationships that you develop, and you always want to keep those positive.
He is Jeff Hennick, Oakley High School football coach. Jeff, it's always great to catch up, my friend. We'll have to do it again a little bit later on this summer, but we'll let you get back to those junior high kids, all right, and building that foundation. Thank you so much for the time.
Hey, Ross, I always appreciate what you do and the relationships that you have with coaches across and what you do for our kids, man. I always enjoy listening to you guys. Keep it up, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, buddy. Once again, great stuff there. That's Jeff Hennick. They don't make him much better than Jeff Hennick. He is absolutely a gem. Fantastic. Yeah, and I'm so glad he brought back up the point about going to 8-man because I had forgotten about that. And that is an interesting, that's a tough thing to kind of manage, and if you're going to the school board saying, guys, I think we need to think about going to 8-man football, that is for a town to do that. It takes a lot of pride swallowing to do it. We got to play 8-man football. Gulp. We really got to do that. That's a hard pill to swallow. It is exciting to hear, though, they might only be there for a few years, and then because the numbers, they're going to get back up to 11-man. That's exciting for them, but that's a hard pill to swallow, and that's a hard thing to do. But it is also something very excited about if you are Oakley, because you have a chance with your numbers to be a really good football team coming up here in 2020 in 2026. So that's a fascinating conversation. If you missed that with Jeff Hennick, go back and listen to that. There's great stuff on summer conditioning, all that kind of stuff, and of course, 8-man football transition. That's fantastic stuff. All right, let's get to our final break. We'll come back, wrap the show with some final thoughts, including Royals and Rockies both winning. What? It happened. It did. Next on the Blitz.
At F&B Bank, we believe local businesses are the heart of our community. That's why we're more than just your bank. We're your neighbor, your customer, and your biggest supporter. From the corner cafe to the hardware store downtown, we're walking the same streets, shopping the same shops, and investing in the same future, yours. We're here, we're local, and we're always in your corner. F&B Bank, banking built on community, member FDIC.
Earl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland is rolling into summer with big offers on new GMCs. Get a 26 GMC Sierra 15-head elevation with $7,000 customer cash with trade-in or 0% for 60 months plus no payments for 90 days. Need heavy duty? Get the 26 GMC Sierra 2500 with $1,000 in rebates or 4.9% for 48 months. Plus save on 26 GMC Terrain and Arcadias with over $1,000 in rebates when you finance with GM Financial. See Earl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas or online at earlchev.com. GMC, professional grade.
Excuses like it's hot, dark, even windy are no excuse at all when you go inside the Logan County Rehab and Wellness Center. This modern workout facility offers state-of-the-art exercise equipment, a therapy pool, and more for you to work out at your own comfortable pace and your own schedule. They offer early morning to late night hours. Come shed some pounds inside at the Logan County Rehab and Wellness Center on the west side of the Logan County Hospital in Oakley. Ask about affordable monthly memberships for singles, couples, and families.
You can feel it in the air. Longer days, greener lawns, and plenty of projects waiting around the house. Good thing Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland has you covered. Freshen up your home with Benjamin Moore paint, tackle the yard with powerful Ego battery tools, and give your lawn the boost it needs with Stage 1 Ultimate Fertilizer. Thinking about cooking outside? Check out their great selection of grills, griddles, smokers, and outdoor living essentials. And remember, if you need it, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware probably has it. They even have milk. Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby, your place for just about everything.
Whether it's touchdowns, home runs, or buzzer beaters, we've got you covered. It's the Morning Blitz.
$7:57 coming up at the end of the show here on a Wednesday. Boy, missed that conversation with Jeff Hennick. Go back and listen to that. Great stuff. Talking about weight programs, football, all that stuff. You got a great mind. Can you just feel his passion for the game coming through the phone? Can you hear? I can feel that all the time.
Yeah.
That man loves football. And there's less and less people that love the game of football every day. And I'd say he is one that loves the game of football. He loves it, and you can feel it. That's for sure. Wrapping up a show here. Royals and Rockies both with wins last night. Hello. That doesn't happen very often, but the Royals get it done. Jack Caglione with a beautiful splash into the fountain last night in right center field. Dad had to be happy last night. Heck, they've 5 of their last 6.
Yeah, they're having a good little stretch here. We'll see if they can keep it going. They're not out of the race by any means. It's as bad as the American League is. I think they're 5 games out of the wild card spot right now, something like that.
What don't they always say something along the lines of, it doesn't matter for the Royals, the first month and a half doesn't matter because you got to wait till it warms up, then the ball starts flying there at the K. You almost have to ignore the first month and a half.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily do that, but
I know.
Seems like they've done that already.
They do that a lot. The Rockies also they snap a 4-game losing streak. They beat the Cubs 7-3. Cole Carrig, major league debut, was memorable. A triple, a walk. For him as they get the win 7-3. How about the Cubs? You think the Royals are in a bad spot? How about the Cubs? I talked about this on Monday's show with Lucas. The Cubs were 27-13 at one point in time. They had gone through a point where they'd won 20 out of 23 games, and they cannot find the win column now to save their life. I mean, they are scuffed. They were going from the top of the NL Central to now where they are out of the playoff picture completely.
Yeah.
In the midst of a month and a half.
Pretty sure I saw something. They're the only team in MLB history to win 10 games in a row and then also lose 10 games in a row, and we're not even halfway through the season.
Yeah. Also, Kansas baseball coach Dan Fitzgerald, he has picked up the Perfect Game Coach of the Year, National Coach of the Year. I think well deserved, don't you?
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, he's having a great run there, is Dan Fitzgerald. And one more quick local news story before we get to the walk-off. The Chiefs bringing back L'Jarius Sneed. You're a Chiefs guy. What do you think? You love this move?
I mean, it's not a bad move. It's not like they, got worse picking him up, but I don't know. I think he's a little washed now as he was.
Old?
Yeah, a little older. He didn't really do a whole lot with the Titans, but, maybe he can bring back a little spark that he's wearing the red and white now.
I was trying to think. What is you got the first round pick? Who's the other corner for the Chiefs again?
They've got a couple. Shamari Connor, I think he's still on the team. Honestly, I don't really follow the defense as much as I do the offense. It's hard to remember all those guys because they're also, they just lose. They lost so much in the secondary. So, yeah, I guess it's not bad to have him back.
I think it's all right to have a guy who knows your system and your culture a little bit and has had success.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they didn't get any worse bringing him back. So,
no, they didn't. So there you go. L'Jarius Sneed going to be a Chief. On to the walk-off.
And back lifts his ball deep to right. How about a walk-off Brady? Thomas to the 10. Difference going on in New England. They win it on the first play of overtime. Mahomes swings it. It's there. Hardman. Jackpot. Kansas City.
The Carolina Hurricanes, they even up the Stanley Cup Finals at 2 games apiece. A 5-3 win over the Vegas Golden Knights last night. This last goal is nuts to take the lead. You got to watch this on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream. I mean, one-man effort. Watch this falling down. He just flips it back into the net, does Jordan Stahl, who, by the way, scored twice, had the go-ahead goal, and became the first player in 44 years to score in each of the 4 games of the Stanley Cup. Nuts.
Yeah, that's one of the best goals I've ever seen. I mean, his full belly is on the ice as he just flips it with the stick.
Well, how about 24 here? Gets it blocked. He's got 3 Golden Knights around. Somehow, some way, he pokes that puck out, and they flip it over to Stahl, and he flips that thing back in. That was nuts.
Yeah,
absolutely nuts.
I saw some people on Twitter calling that the goal of the year.
Goal of the year.
If they win the Stanley Cup, you're going to look back at that one and probably agree.
That is a heck of a goal there by Jordan Stahl. That series tied at 2 games apiece. Thursday night, they're back in Raleigh for Game 5, a pivotal Game 5 in the Stanley Cup Finals. That does it for us. I'm Ross Volkmer. He's Garrett Wellbrock. Thanks for listening to Wednesday's show. We'll catch you back here tomorrow on The Blitz.